The warning is very simple. Bitcoin and Cardano have bounced, but they are yet to confirm bullish reversal. In this video, I'll break it down. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit the subscribe and like. On the way in, let's jump into the Bitcoin Cardano video. I'm going to break it down very quickly and simply. And it's a nice bounce. It's an overnight bounce. But we had the same thing that just happened a couple days ago. I want to show you the areas we have to check and watch on the charts today, in the next, hours or so, the next day or so. So let's jump into Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin on the weekly. There's just something I want to point out in the macro scheme of things. This area, on the RSI for Bitcoin, this general area that really just separates bear move on the macro from bull move on the macro. Here's the last bull market, just kind of support above that area. Here's the last bear market below that area. We're trading on Bitcoin momentum. Right now, we've fallen below that area. It's not something, I don't think many of us anticipated would happen in the middle of this bull market. And so Bitcoin has really kind of dug itself a little bit of a ditch, and it has to climb out of it very quickly on this macro chart. So ultimately, no matter what happens in the short to midterm, we want to see Bitcoin start kind of getting back into this area. This could be a setup for an incredibly bullish continuation. If we truly are in the middle of this bull market, this could be the setup, the cooling off stage that Bitcoin needs before just going parabolic. That explosive move for the rest of this year that many bulls are anticipating. So that's what we need to see happen on the macro charts. And in that happening, we're going to see Bitcoin get back above this 20-week moving average. What we don't want to start seeing is this 20-week moving average, this green line, start trending down in a continued downtrend, because then we're going to start seeing this more macro type of move that we kind of saw in the beginning of the last bear market. So that's something to track on the macro, but it all starts as we start zooming in and we start looking for this bullish trend reversal that I think so many people are waiting for, myself included. I mean, I'm tracking this as well, but we have to be extremely careful right now when we get these little bounces. And we can see on the daily chart, if we zoom in, it's a green candle, right? And then we're going to zoom in on the 6 hour to really see what's going on here. But this isn't Bitcoin putting in and confirming a bullish reversal just yet. We're not there yet at all. This daily candle is nice to see green, but what we have happening right now is Bitcoin is currently under the 200-day moving average. We have this recent 20-day moving average cross below the 50-day, which is a blue line. So the green crossing below the blue. And again, in a downtrend, it's the very beginning signs of Bitcoin entering a downtrend, and we want to flip that. So when it comes to these moving averages, it's fine that they're consolidating together, even the 200, but we want to see the 200 start consolidating into the 50 and the 20. We want to see these maybe close together, and that could look like Bitcoin even just trickling up, trickling sideways, whatever. We don't want to see Bitcoin obviously continue to downside, because then we're going to start talking about, the 20-day moving average crossing below the 200. Those are the types of moves that start confirming a very macro bearish trend. So how can we make sure that doesn't happen? Well, first off, there's nothing you and I can do, but what the charts can do for us, if we go start looking at the 6 hour, is this is where it begins. This is what you need to watch for. And this is really the warning. What we have happening for Bitcoin, yes, we have a nice little bounce off of this, $31,000 area or so. It's a 20+% bounce to the upside. But we're just hitting just short-term Fibonacci resistance, lower high resistance. We've been in this very clear downtrend since Bitcoin started falling, May 9th or so, from that $59,000, $60,000 area. Very clear downtrend of lower highs, lower lows. And, most recently, you can see Bitcoin even put in a lower high, and this is 6 hours. So this was 4 days ago. Lower high before just kind of tanking to that downside. So this little swing, and actually that's the wrong Fibonacci. So it's this swing high right here to swing low right to the Fibonacci. So this was a great bounce. It was a very volatile, ridiculous bounce to the upside. Everybody on Twitter going crazy, having some fun with it. 40% bounce. We're out of the woods, everybody. And then boom, we fell into a new downtrend. And the thing is, you can very simply just chart this kind of trend line on Bitcoin charts right now. So what we have happening, and this is good. This is a good first sign. We're kind of escaping that trend line. However, and let me just chart this from this swing high to swing low, back to the trend line resistance, right? And then we have from this new swing line, trend line to swing low, we're back to a new resistance. And if we chart that, what that looks like is this. You can see, and I completely, let me remove this. Let me remove this. This is the Fibonacci resistance. Let me move this down a little bit. So that's what we're looking at. This is the resistance that we have right now for Bitcoin. And we're looking at it. You can see the 6 hour wicking into this resistance, lower high resistance, 38,100. We can call it 38,000 to 40,000. That's our resistance area, 38,000 to 40,000. If Bitcoin can break through that area, then we have that very beginning sign of a bullish reversal. But just alone, Bitcoin seeing a bounce of 20+%, that's not bullish reversal. This is just, a very short-term type of relief bounce for Bitcoin. And if we see resistance here, the potential story when we see these lower highs, lower lows. And that is what we need to be ready for. So this is really the only thing I'm watching for on Bitcoin on the short term. I want to see if we can break above $38,000 to $40,000. That will be a very good sign. It's nice to see we've broken this lower trend line, but there's other things in play on the charts when it comes to bullish reversals and just trend lines. One of those things is lower high resistance, the Fibonacci. I mean, just for me, the way I do technical analysis. So that's what I'm watching for Bitcoin. Let's pivot over to Cardano. Cardano, there's kind of a similar story in play. And it really is interesting how the charts kind of, the short term and the macro are really, really showing us a heavy resistance area. So we'll talk about that. This is ADA BTC pair. It's doing what we want to see it do in the macro. And we've been talking about this. We'll be tracking this from all the way back in December 2020, just these higher lows on the macro. Right now, we're putting in a higher low. What we see happen this week will be very interesting. What kind of upward pressure, maybe potential continued downtrend. If Bitcoin makes that next leg down, there's a possibility we see Cardano suffer a little bit on this pair. But even so, look at the separation. Look at the cushion that it has to the downside. Even if we see another 20% dip against BTC for Cardano very simply putting in a higher low for potential continuation on that chart. So we're going to track that. Here's Cardano on the weekly. One thing I just want to note, we're still above that 20-week moving average. We wicked into it on the weekly. It's a really good sign. There's just, a very strong potential that Cardano on the macro could be putting in a higher low on this weekly, this long-term uptrend. And this is going back to March 2020. And that's a good sign. So we're going to continue to monitor this. Stock RSI, we're still down here on the weekly. Stock RSI, quicker moving momentum oscillator, kind of consolidating around down here as markets make up their mind. But the long story short, so much room, if the bull market is about to continue, for an explosive move for Cardano on the macro. But let's start talking about those warning signs on the short term. I want to start with a clip from May 20th, just 4 days ago. If we see resistance here and we come back down to even test this neckline, we're going to have to start talking about a very obvious head and shoulders in play. So there's two parts to that story that I'm talking about. Number one, you can see this, red rectangle. That's a resistance area. And we just talked about it the other day. Everybody's rejoicing and all happy on Twitter and YouTube because we got this nice bounce. But in that video the other day, as it was happening, I talked about a warning. It's an exact type of warning I'm talking about in this video. We wanted to get the bullish confirmation breaking that resistance, the lower high resistance. It didn't happen. It proved to be resistance and we came down. The other part of that equation is talking about that $1.50 neckline. So let's talk about both of these things right now. So here's what the charts look like from a support perspective, and then we're going to talk about that resistance. So support perspective, we just talked about. It's this swing low that we had to that swing high resistance. We talked about this, I believe, in yesterday's live stream. Seeing support at this area. Now, this is a 6 hour. If you go to a daily, this is what we want to see. Look at the daily support, and we actually escaped the Fibonacci support, the 618 to 786. We truly did wick all the way down into this area, the $1.18 to, $1.35 area. But right now we've escaped it. We're above it. That is good from a support perspective. We start digging in now. We start looking at the resistance that I was talking about in that video. And there's the support. Let's remove that Fibonacci. So this is the story. What happened is the other day I did a video about a warning from this swing high to swing low. There we are at this lower high resistance. Everybody, just like kind of today, it seems so far. I glanced on Twitter. Everybody very happy about this. I mean, ridiculous 90% bounce. I mean, it's awesome looking. But we were not putting in a reversal confirmation yet until we broken this lower high resistance. And we didn't. So we came down. Now, the same type of lower high resistance is in play. It's that swing high, lower high that we saw, resistance, to the new swing low. And we have this area now. This is the new warning sign area. This is the new, wait for it. Cardano has to break this to put in bullish confirmation. It's $1.60 at the 618 to a 786 at $1.75 or so, $1.76. That's the resistance. Cardano still has to make its way up to that area. So from where it is right now, we still need another, 10 to 20% move to the upside for Cardano to start really giving us some bullish reversal signs. At the end of the day, there's two things happening. That resistance area is there that we need to wait for confirmation. It's right there. And the other thing that's happening is the second part of that video that I talked about, the $1.50 area. Now, the thing that we talked about in that video is basically this setup. And look at this. It's an inverse head and shoulders setup. There's a 90-cent target, and I took that too low. It's like 90-cent target to the downside. And this is, risky business on these charts. I'm not trying to sound bearish, but I'm trying to be extremely cautious. It can be a very emotional market out there. And so we sit and we watch the data and we wait for certain things to happen. We don't follow emotion. We don't follow even, wow, this is a nice 40% bounce for Cardano. We're bullish. That's not what we do. We wait for technical indicators to prove themselves. This resistance, we need to break it, that we just talked about. But look what's happening here on the on the head and shoulders. We broken the neckline, made the move down, and we're getting a pullback to the neckline. That is like textbook move in terms of all of the patterns we track on this YouTube channel. You see me talk about pullbacks, and we talk about throwbacks in bullish environments for continuation. But this could be a pullback to the neckline, $1.50 resistance for continuation to its target 90 cents. And I'm not sitting here telling you, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'm saying these are the areas we need to break to make sure it doesn't happen. It's $1.50 at that neckline, and it's the Fibonacci resistance just above it. These are extremely important data points on the screen. What makes this so even more urgent, I would say, for Cardano is this $1.50 area has proven resistance multiple times on the zoomed out macro charts. And it was nice that we broke it, and even nice that we were seeing support above it. And I was truly hoping, and I kind of still am, that Cardano can start seeing support continuously above $1.50. I just don't want to see it turn into resistance at $1.50 once again, because we went through this entire story. And if you were watching this YouTube channel, you know that story. That was this huge ascending triangle that we were tracking over and over, just putting us into just an emotional roller coaster before we finally broke out. And here we are once again testing $1.50. Are you kidding me? So that's what I'm watching on Cardano. This isn't meant to be a bearish video at all. I mean, some very bullish things could happen on the short term if we can break this area on Cardano, if we can break the area on Bitcoin, some very bullish things. But we sit here and we wait for that bullish confirmation. It's so important to do that. Put the emotions aside, wait for the confirmation. But you can just see right now, we're testing the resistance at $1.50. The Fibonacci resistance just above, up to around $1.75 or so. So let's track this. Let's see what happens in the hours ahead, in the day ahead. I will likely be doing an update video as we continue to monitor this and see what happens. I appreciate all of you just for cruising by, hanging out through this dip. Let's be patient. Let's see. If you're not staking your Cardano, check this out. I see more Cardano coming in than leaving. Holders are holders. Holders are holding. Accumulators are accumulating. and stake with CCV2 if you have some ADA, and earn interest on your ADA, earn rewards on your ADA. So appreciate all you cruising by. I will see you all in the next video. Let's track this. Let's see. Let's be patient for the bullish confirmation. Have an awesome day. God bless.